How do you prefer your tea? With milk and sugar or in lace and silk? Today I'm going to show you how to render Rose dressing gown from the movie Titanic. I'm Michaela and you're watching Fashion Adventures. If you're new to my channel and want to see more drawing tutorials, hit the subscribe button below my video. This is the dress Rose wears at breakfast with Carl. Choosing the pose for the figure, I was inspired by the scene itself and wanted to incorporate elements from it into the illustration. At breakfast, Rose tells Carl that he must stop commanding her, but he gets furious and flips over the table, threatening Rose and demanding that she obey and honor him. So I decided to make the figure actually slightly imbalanced, turning around on one foot with her hand over her brows, which reminded me of a salute to pay respect. And by spinning, she's spilling her tea. The twirling motion will give me that movement in the fabric and show the layers of the dress. I'm starting off with burnt sienna for the skin. As I'm adding the shadows, I'm also shading the parts of the body covered by the transparent fabric, because the light is falling through the thin layer of fabric and creates shadows on the body. I'm keeping the shadows underneath the fabric lighter than the shadows falling directly on her bare skin. Shading the body underneath the sheer fabric creates the actual sheerness of the clothing piece and makes the whole design dynamic and 3D. I'm using color pencils to deepen the shadows and work out the details on the face. For the hair, I'm applying different tones of red and brown color pencils on top of a base in burnt sienna. With a sharp pencil, you can work out single curls and hairs coming out of her braid. The original color of the gown is soft yellow, but I've chosen a more vibrant hue with orange tone in the shadows, instead of using purple-gray. As I render the shadows, I'm creating at the same time the folds and creases in the dress. Because of the quick movement of the figure, the fabric wraps around the body and the drapes are not falling loosely down, but moving away from the body, creating wave-shaped folds. The lines of the folds radiate from the waist and the hips of the dress. Because silk fabrics have a subtle shimmer, I'm going to use a larger round brush and white ink to add highlights on the outward curved areas of the folds, where the light hits the fabric. I'm keeping them soft by blending any harsh lines. For this kind of highlights, you can also use white paint or white pencil. Over the silk gown, she's wearing a sheer robe with lace embellishments and yellow flower decorations on the neckline. I'm using silver drawing ink. It becomes transparent when thinned with water. Applied on paper, it leaves a pale gray layer with lots of silver glitter in it. To create shadows or overlapping layers of fabric, I'm adding another layer of ink until I get the effect I want. With a thin brush, I'm drawing the lace and beads. For the lace and embroidery, I'm using the same silver ink, but this time I'm not diluting it with water. I'm not really following a pattern by making the lace, it's rather random. For the lace and beads in shadow, I'm using black, and for the highlights, white ink. On the edges there are beads or pearls which have the function of holding the fabric in place, because it seems to be a very lightweight. If you want to see some of my other tutorials on costume design, like Rose's boarding suit from Titanic or Daenerys' wedding dress from Game of Thrones, click on the links shown here or visit my YouTube channel page. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon on our next adventure.